Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, today we're going to talk about the Hydra Clan Boss. Came out last week whilst I was moving house. I've not had the same type of level of time to really get to grips with this boss. But what I've been doing is I've been farming information. Yeah, so I've been looking at the best comps, the best tactics that people are using to try and beat up the boss. And today we're going to talk about the best epic champions in the game to help you deal with the Hydra. And there's almost like different groups of champions here. We're talking about damage. We're talking about support. We're talking about cleansing. We're talking about block buffs. We're talking about support and healing. So there's a whole kind of different variety of champions. I mean, Hydra's the first boss where you can take 6 of your champions in with you. And actually, you need to be able to fight 3 different times. So that's 18 champions you need on your roster. Good to go. It really means that unless you're fighting maybe normal or hard, this is really late game content. You know, my free-to-play account, 170 odd days in, I do not even have 18 champions with full masteries. And masteries do a lot of the work, a lot of the damage in this type of clan boss style fight, which means that you really have to make the most of the 1 or 2 keys where you punch your damage. And yeah, this video I'm going to talk about the champions that can kind of help you get there. So one of the ways that I've been able to farm information and knowledge is actually through the optimizer. So as a team, hellhades.com, we've obviously had this optimizer running for a while. The end goal is to be able to say to you, based on your champions, here's some ideas of teams that you can build. And in the beta mode, you guys don't have this in your optimizer yet, but I'm able to pick a Hydra rotation level. Let's call brutal for now. And then say, based on the champions that I own, suggest teams that could work. And what I've been doing is I've been looking through some of the high damage teams, kind of extracting the Shamal cheese, which is going to go away a bit, I think, in the next week or so. But then looking at the main champions that are being used and just trying to understand why they're being used. Yeah, so this video is going to be epics, which kind of fall into the different categories of the main reasons some of these champions are being selected to do some of these different damaging hits. But this will, once we've been able to pull through not just the damage that people are doing, but also the speeds of the champions and that type of thing, we'll then start to throw this update out to the community, because this is going to be game changing. Yeah, you're going to be able to look at this and say, right, what speeds are these running? What damage are they doing? And what type of gear sets are people using? And it should be able to help you, inform you how to go about building a team that will do some work for you. So I'm really kind of interested in how this is going to progress. This is running right the way through everywhere. So suggest a team for Spider for me. Well, there you go. There's a team. And I can say, right, what win rate do I want these teams to be? So I could say, actually, I want at least a 97% win rate. Apply filter. And it tells me, based on the champions I own, what different teams are out there at the moment. The one thing it doesn't do yet is tell me the stats of these champions. Even though we've got that information, it's just a lot that we're asking the server to do back end. So there's still some work to be done, but we're getting close. And it helps me with this type of video because actually I can throw out there suggestions based on what I'm seeing with live data and live information rather than just kind of going off my own head. Okay, so let's get into this then. Best epics to deal with the Hydra. I guess we're going to start with the damage dealers. And it would be amiss of me not to talk about the dude that is kind of creating headlines at the minute. Inquisitor Shamal. Why is he so sought after? Why is he doing so much work for clan boss teams? And I've got to say, even after the mastery nerf or change, which is happening next week, this dude is still going to be in top performing teams. Yeah, mainly because anytime a fear or true fear lands on your team, on any of your champions, it lands and then he removes it. Okay. This skill will instantly remove the debuff and fill the ally's turn meter by 15%. This part of it's a bit broken at the moment. It's not filling the ally by 15%. It's filling the leader's turn meter by 15% for everybody that it's doing it to. So actually the leader's getting tons of turns and the rest of the people are not being feared. Also, when he removes that fear or true fear, he also has the opportunity to proc the mastery Deterrence. I'll just show you that mastery quickly. And Deterrence is giving you the ability to counterattack when a fear or true fear is removed. So whenever an enemy, whenever a debuff is applied, fear or true fear, there's a 20% chance to counterattack. And bearing in mind there's 6 of you in the group, it's almost every time a fear gets placed and is removed, at least one of your team's getting a counterattack from it. So there's this kind of cheese A1 AoE ability comps running out at the moment. They've moved Deterrence to have a 1-turn cooldown. Shamal will still be one of the best epics and actually up there as one of the best champions in the game to beat up Hydra because of that same mechanic. Because you just don't have to worry about the Head of Torment so much. So Shamal is going to be in the mix. Let's get on to some people that we don't necessarily know about. So somebody that was top tier, came down a bit, still used in very endgame teams on places like Dark Fae, Fire Knight, but used to be in kind of all of the speed teams, Spider 20, Dragon 20, and he kind of got edged out because his enemy max HP skill got nerfed, or at least level 21 to 25, it's way less significant. But you get back to Hydra, and now we're talking about 4 enemy bosses at a time, all with high health pools, and being able to slam for 10% of their health each is a massive hit. So Royal Guard is coming back. He's also got a 4-hitter on his A3, which can do some turn meter stuff, and he's got a decreased defense A1. He's quite squishy. That's his kind of letdown. He's quite difficult to keep alive. But we're seeing a lot of Royal Guard coming in and doing a lot of damage. So those team comps I spoke about, I'm seeing double Royal Guards with resets in some of the high damage teams. In the same vein, and perhaps even better, someone that might be coming out of the vault for a few of you here, Husk. I was talking about this on stream last night. Husk has got an enemy max HP skill, but he does not have to build up like a high attack or something like that to make his damage work. You still want good crit damage and crit rate and that type of stuff, but he is a more tanky unit. So you're able to build him as a tank, and he will do the same level of damage as if you built him as like a high attack champ. So this A2 is particularly strong with Husk. And again, we're seeing Husk kind of coming into the meta for high level, like nightmare level Hydra teams. So bear in mind Husk, you can build him as a bit of a tanky unit and still get some good damage away. And this ability here on his A3 scales from HP anyway. It's reasonably hard. Not crazy, but it hits pretty hard. Okay then, so let's move on to a couple of damage dealers who do damage in a slightly different way. This is an interesting one. So 2 champions that sort of spring to mind in terms of epics that have got slightly confusing coding. Yeah, so, and Trunder's one of these champions as well, by the way, as a legendary. But they've got an AoE ability, which has then got a conditional second AoE hit. Now, because the AoE hit for the second one is conditional, it actually is coded as single target hits. Now, bear in mind, like Hydra, all of the heads have got some sort of AoE damage reduction. So when you're hitting with a single target hit, you just do more damage. So someone like a Magnar can come in with his second AoE and smash. Yeah, so just bear that in mind. This is so Magnar will do a good AoE hit anyway. He's also got a debuff spread if there's burns out there. We'll get on to talk about burns in a little while, but burns are a really strong source of damage. He's got a drop defense as well, but this second hit can actually do a ton of work. So bear that in mind. And in a similar vein, but a very different style of champ, Sinatia. So Sinatia's A1 hits, and then the second hit is conditional. It's coded as single target hits. This is weird because Skull Crown has actually got almost the same ability on her A1, but a slightly different condition to it. But her second hit counts as an AoE in the code. Very odd. Anyway, but Sinatia doesn't. She counts as single target second hits, which means her second hits can be very big. She's also got a great A3, by the way, with this equalizing HP and heal. This is a great champion to bring into Hydra. AoE damage is good anyway. Like the Head of Misery, it's hard to do work on because Hex really is just not a thing yet. Hex is still not a thing. There's not enough champions with good utility that you can bring in. So we're kind of forgetting Hex for now, which means the Head of Misery becomes a bit of a problem unless you've got some AoE damage. So Sinatia can bring that as well. So Sinatia in the mix. I guess it's worth just calling out her sister, Skull Crown. Just straight up good damage dealer, good AoE damage. She brings a weaken as well. as a debuff, and she's got kind of inbuilt survivability, which helps you as well. So Skull Crown, I'm seeing quite a lot of Skull Crown in decent level teams. Okay then, let's talk about someone else. I mean, he's in a lot of endgame stuff anyway. He's still great, and he's good here. He's not probably as effective here as he is maybe on Clan Boss, but still, the A3 HP burn is strong in this fight anyway. But when your team are taking hits, he is reflecting potential War Master procs back. So this is a really great skill on Geomancer. He's also got a ability here, or passive here, which reduces the damage that your team will take, which is massive as well. So Geomancer should still be in the mix for Hydra teams. Geomancer is probably one of my strongest damage dealers on my free-to-play account in my setup. So let's go on, I guess, to talk about some AoE HP burn champions, because this is really where your damage comes from if you're not running some funky Shamal type comp. Mordecai is one of the best. AoE HP burn. Also gives your team a buff. Also some turn meter stuff going on as well. But the HP burn is where it's at for damage. Yeah, endgame content tends to go this way. HP burn is where you get good ticks of damage. You do need to be aware that the enemy can cleanse their team. So you kind of want to wait for the cleanse. Hopefully do something like remove their buffs. Any block debuffs needs to be gone before you then put out a full enemy HP burn. And this is a massive source of damage. If we look at some of the best teams out there, it's got people like Venus in it. People like, who's a new one? Tunisia. People like, what is your name? What is your name? Tyrant in it. All HP burn champions. They're all champions that are just throwing out the HP burn against all the Hydra heads, and that's where your damage is coming from. So Mordecai's in that group, and you need to call out Akoth as well, who's a farmable champion through Doom Tower normal. Akoth, the Seed, is going to do that same AoE HP burn mechanic. And I guess as the other epic that can kind of get in the mix here, you've also got Ultimate Gaelic, who doesn't do it as well. It's only a 50% chance to land, but still, if you don't have other options, he's going to be he's better than not having an HP burn out there. So Ultimate Gaelic can be in that same kind of group of damage dealers for your team. I guess a couple of other ones to call out. So currently we're seeing a lot of Aboru in the teams with Shamal. Whether that stays or not, I think it probably won't stay once they fix Deterrence, but it might do. The reason why she's in is because she's got an AoE drop defense ability that can spread on an A1. So there needs to be 4 or more debuffs out there for this to work. You probably need Shamal in a toxic set. But once that's happened, or someone in a toxic set, once that's happened, she can then drop defense on the whole enemy team, or the whole Hydra head setup, and you'll get a lot more damage away when decreased defense is out there. So decreased defense, like always, is king. And I guess let's move on to talk about those support units that can help you with the drop defense. Specifically ones that are going to give you something else. So I'm seeing in the kind of mid-tier damage dealer groups, Madame. Why Madame? Well, she can also remove all of the enemy buffs. Yeah, so the Hydra heads are putting out block debuffs and a bunch of other stuff. They're stealing your buffs, spreading it around. She can be like, no, let's clean that off. And then we put our own decreased defense back. And then we get back to doing damage. So Madame's actually pretty solid for that. And in the same kind of boat here, we've got Rihanna Conjurer. Again, a farmable Doom Tower normal champion who can do a full enemy cleanse and then put Weaken out instead. So 2 good champions. This one actually books down to 3 turns as well. So you can get yourself a full cleanse and then a Weaken out on a 3-turn cooldown. Pretty damn solid. Couple of other drop defense champions that's just worth calling out. I mean, they come up really in most content that we ever talk about, but Stag, AoE drop attack and defense, bookable to 95, masteries take it to 100. You know, Stag is always going to be solid when you've got multiple enemies to fight, like we have here. And his partner in crime, really, similar sort of style, is Duke. I'm seeing more Duke than Stag because we've also got a decreased accuracy hit here, and he's got an unkillable, which I guess is probably pretty pointless here, actually. But because he's defense-based, you get damage at the same time as survivability from him. He's going to be solid for a kind of general setup of your damage and reducing damage coming to you. Again, be aware that they can cleanse some of this stuff off. So you need to get your timing strong in terms of when you're going to land these. I still run on my free-to-play Deke. He's still giving me turn meter fill. He's still dropping defense. He's putting leech out there as well. And he gives me a speed aura. So Deke's always going to be a solid epic to come into any fights. You know, whether it's your first team or second or third, doesn't matter. He can come in and do some work and give you a chance with this leech to just gain a bit of survivability as well. It's harder when you've got a full team of heads here, so you can't put leech everywhere, but you might be able to get someone that's going to spread debuffs that can kind of help you out with that. And then another one who probably doesn't get that much playtime right now, albeit great champion, Udo comes in solid here because she's also bringing block buffs, and block buffs is definitely a strat in this setup. So wait till the cleanse happened, put block buffs out there, and then when they're stealing your buffs and trying to spread them, or when they're putting out things like block debuffs, they won't go on, and it just gives you the ability to keep that decreased defense on, keep your burns up, keep your damage ticking. So Udo, very solid for this. And then we've got another champion who's just a great champion anyway, but Phoenix also does that AoE block buffs, also got a cannon of an A1, and brings a decreased defense single target A3 as well. So Phoenix in that same camp. And then one other epic to call out in the same way is actually Umbral. So Umbral does that AoE block buffs as well. Again, it's just a really strong skill here to deal with Hydra heads. Umbral's also got an unkillable ability on herself. I guess you have to be aware that that could be stolen. Honestly, these heads being unkillable doesn't really matter because you just kind of want to just keep pummeling damage in. Sometimes you want one head in particular to stay up. So I've seen strategies where people want the unkillable stolen and spread, and they just fight the heads that are there. But Umbral bringing that block buffs anyway is a pretty damn solid strat. Okay, let's get on to the kind of healer stroke support units. Now, if we're looking at the best teams in the game right now, which aren't Shamal teams, they're basically all revolving around Duchess as a legendary champion. What's our best version of an epic Duchess? Pretty much it is Rector Draft. Very strong healer, revive mechanics, but most importantly, I think, is the fact that she puts a perfect veil on your whole team. So once that veil is on there, you take less damage. It's one of the requirements for the Hydra as well. The new legendary fusion that we're going for right now, Tatura, has also got this full team perfect veil. So bear that in mind. But yeah, you've got revive as well, turn meter fill, and then just generally heals. Heals, which will keep you topped up as you're taking continuous damage. So Rector comes in pretty clutch as a great champion for this. Another one that we've kind of grown to love through Doom Tower, really. Bodoff, solid here. He brings so much healing with this passive. Yeah, when he's taking hits, he's sharing the love, sharing that heal out to your team. He's got a triple hit A1, so you can put Giant Slayer on him and get some good damage away. His damage is based on HP, so you build his survivability up. It's the same way he does damage. And he's got leech ability as well. So this is a great champion to keep your team alive, honestly. Really one of the best, I'd say, as an epic to keep your team alive. So we've got another support unit. Does a lot of healing. Small heals on an A1. This is Godseeker Aniri, Void epic champion. I actually use Godseeker in my main clan boss team. And damn, Godseeker does work. She hits hard. Really hard for a defensive champion. AoE hits here. Also heals your team. Whilst decreasing the duration of enemy buffs and increasing the duration of your buffs. This is a way, almost like a soft way to remove buffs off enemies, whilst improving your perfect veils, your increased defenses, whatever you've got going on to help you stay alive. This is actually really solid. Also got a revive, and it's got this kind of cheaty little revive on death mechanic as well. So the other nice thing about Godseeker is she naturally gives all of your champions more healing. So if you're running a Vogoth alongside a Godseeker, his heals are 10% better. Or a Rector Draft or something like that as well. So Godseeker is one of the better support units. We can't really talk about support units without bringing out Doom Priest. Again, gone up in value again. Any endgame content, we're talking about Doom Priest. Rotating through her passive as quickly as you can is the steal here. Every time she has a turn, she strips a debuff. Every single time, she'll strip a debuff of everyone on your team. It's massive. At the same time, she does a cheeky little heal as well. So yeah, Doom Priest comes in. That's really all she's in there for. The rest of her stuff is okay. But Doom Priest is a kind of good mid-tier champion to be bringing in to keep your team moving and to remove some of these debuffs. We've then got ourselves... I don't know if this champion's going to continue after the Shamal silliness, honestly. But I think she probably will. So we've got an AoE A1, which is okay. But then we've got an increased attack A2, which cannot be removed. So when they're trying to remove your buffs, steal your buffs, they can't steal this one. She's also got a full team cleanse again, so it's just kind of keeping your team in the race. I probably would turn off the A3, I think, or use it sparingly. You know, I wouldn't have this just running on auto. I'd kind of pick in and use it when I want to. But speed in all battles as well is solid. So Battle Sage is being used a lot in kind of brutal and up Hydra. Then got a couple more. So almost an unlikely hero. She's insane anyway. We know about Seer. But Seer is good here because she can remove all the enemy buffs. So you can strip away those buffs, get your debuffs back out. Stripping them away is an enemy max HP skill, so it will hit hard as well. You do need accuracy to make that work on this build. But she's generally not, like, again, that kind of mid-tier damage dealer. She's going to do work. She also brings an AoE weaken and a chance to get extra turns to scale back to her A3 quickly. So Seer, all right, she's not going to probably be in the top teams in the game, but for an epic that does a bit of work, I think she does it. And then the last one I'm going to call out for this video is actually going to be Seeker. Really, he would be in these teams for the same reason he's in Clan Boss teams. Keep your team moving quickly with an A2 that boosts turn meter, gives you an increased attack. It's on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, which, because he gets an extra turn, is actually on a 2-turn cooldown. So you're constantly getting that turn meter fill, giving you more rotations of abilities. So Seeker's going to be solid. He's also got a decent hit in A1. And when you take a hit from the Hydra, you can actually spread this increased defense buff across your team, making you stay alive. But he needs to be high in your turn order to make sure that he spreads it before other people take their hits. Therefore, they take less of a hit. So yeah, Seeker is a pretty damn solid epic as well. So there you go, guys. Like, early looks of Hydra. It's definitely tough content. It's definitely tough to get enough champions with the right masteries to make it work. But... you know, focus on burns, enemy max HP for damage. Focus on support and healing to keep your team moving. And make sure you've got the right masteries to do your damage with things like War Master and Giant Slayer. And you will get there. So I'm going to be showing some of my teams from the free-to-play and the main account over the next few days. But there you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. This is about Hydra. I will see you later.